Good morning, everybody. I'm a little bit late today. Man, uh, my computer is just all wonky this morning, and so I have no idea. I thought about rebooting, but that was going to take about 10 minutes to reboot my computer. So we will just go with what we got this morning, and hopefully you'll all be able to join me. It's just crazy, crazy, crazy. I have no idea what's going on. I was almost getting ready to live stream from my phone because my computer was just not acting as it should this morning. But I am so glad to be with you, and let me just put away some of this other stuff that I was gonna use. You ever have one of those days? But it is a beautiful day. Another day in God's green earth, and it's good to be with you this morning. It is Wednesday. It is Hump Day, September 23rd, and it is a great and beautiful day to be alive and to be with you this morning. I think I'm broadcasting. I have no idea. Anyway, so there are no birthdays today, and last night was another Hard Things Conference speaker. Very good. A little bit on brain science, a little bit on a whole bunch of different topics that were very good. And so I think we're getting close to the end of the Hard Things Conference. I hope you're able to go back and listen to some of those. And then reminder again on Friday. So today is Wednesday. On Friday, we're taking the day off. And so enjoy the day. Have a nice 3-day weekend. And we'll get back together again on Monday. We are in Genesis, and we are in Genesis chapter 44, and I'm just a little bit trying to. I'm just so strange. Oh my goodness! You know, when everything falls apart, then you just say, "Lord, take over. Jesus, take the wheel," and we'll go from there. Yeah, no birthdays today. No news on coronavirus. It's just you and me and the Bible, and we're gonna finish the story, not today, but we're gonna work our way through this story of Joseph. Because I think today we're getting to probably my favorite part of Joseph, and it's weird. Yeah, that sun is really, really bright. So I'm backing up, and hopefully you can hear me. All right, so. We're just collecting our thoughts. I have no idea why my computer's acting so wonky. It was doing it yesterday, and I thought it was the internet, but now I'm thinking it's my computer. So I'll reboot, but it takes, you know how it is when you reboot your computer. Sometimes it takes hours to do that. And sometimes it installs updates. I mean, just sometimes it does all sorts of crazy things. So we'll do that at the end of today. But before we get to that, we're going to finish, we're going to get into the story of Joseph. So where we left Joseph is they had gone back to Egypt a second time, his brothers, and they brought with them Benjamin. And now Joseph sees Benjamin, and he's weeping loudly, not in front of his brothers. He's so excited to see Benjamin. But now he's sending his brothers away again, a second time. And so let's just pick up the story there if we can. I have no idea if this is going to work. It is. Yay. All right. So Genesis chapter 44. Now Joseph gave these instructions to the steward of his house. Fill the men's sacks with as much food as they can carry, and put each man's silver in the mouth of his sack. Then put my cup, the silver one, in the mouth of the youngest one's sack, along with the silver for his grain. And he did as Joseph said. Now as morning dawned, the men were sent on their way with their donkeys. They had not gone far from the city when Joseph said to his steward, "Go after those men at once, and when you catch up with them, say to them, 'Why have you repaid good with evil? Isn't this the cup my master drinks from and also used for divination? This is a wicked thing you have done.'" So, this seems to be a plan that Joseph has set up. He's going to put his own cup into Benjamin's sack, and then they start to leave. Then he instructs his steward to go and grab these men and say, "Why have you taken the cup? This is a horrible thing that you've done." So the steward goes, And, well, let's just pick up the story. Here we go. So we'll start again in verse 6. When the steward caught up with them, he repeated these words to them. But they said to him, "Why does my Lord say such things? Far be it from your servants to do anything like that. We even brought back to you from the land of Canaan the silver we found inside the mouths of our sacks. So why would we steal silver or gold from your master's house? If any of your servants is found to have it, he will die, and the rest of us will become my Lord's slaves." "Very well, then," he said, "let it be as you say. Whoever is found to have it will become my slave, and the rest of you will be free from blame." So they're like, this makes no sense whatsoever. The first time we came, you gave us our silver back. And we even brought all that silver back, and then we even added more silver. Why in the world would we ever risk? I mean, we're honest people. Why would we risk anything by taking any silver? But check our sacks. None of us have it. If anybody's found, you can put us to death. He says, if any of your servants is found to have it, he will die, and the rest of us will become my Lord's slaves. It's like whoever has the cup, that one dies, and the rest of us are slaves. But the steward says, no, wait a minute. I'll tell you what. Whoever is found to have it will become a slave, and the rest of you are free from blame. So he raises it up a level and says, listen, I'm not going to kill any of you, and I'm not going to make slaves of you. I'm just going to find the one that has the cup, and that one will become a slave. So it's like the servant is working in favor of the brothers. So let's see what happens. Verse 11. Each of them quickly lowered his sack to the ground and opened it. And when the steward proceeded to search, beginning with the oldest and ending with the youngest, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. At this, they tore their clothes, and they all loaded their donkeys, and they all returned to Egypt. They weren't about to let Benjamin go by himself, so they all returned to Egypt. Then verse 14, Joseph was still in the house when Judah and his brothers came in, and they threw themselves to the ground before him. And Joseph said to them, "What is it that you have done? Don't you know that a man like me can find out things by divination?" So Joseph's saying, listen, I know all things because I have divination powers. Don't you know I can find out all things? Why would you do something like this? "Well, what can we say to my lord?" Judah replied. "What can we say? How can we prove our innocence? God has uncovered your servant's guilt. We are now my lord's slaves, we ourselves, and the one who is found to have the cup." But Joseph said, "Far be it from me to do such a thing. Only the man who was found to have the cup will become my slave. The rest of you can go back to your father in peace." So it appears that Joseph just really wants to shower upon Benjamin, whatever he can, and let the other brothers, who doesn't care much about, go back to their father in Canaan. So this probably was the plan all along with Joseph, was to say, all right, I'm going to keep Benjamin, all the rest of you are going. But I don't think the brothers are going to have that, because they know that their dad needs Benjamin. So let's just continue reading. Verse 18. Then Judah went up to him and said, "Pardon your servant, my lord. Let me speak a word to my lord. Do not be angry with your servant, though you are equal to Pharaoh himself. My lord asks his servant, 'Do you have a father or a brother?' And we answered, 'We have an aged father, and there is a young son born to him in his old age. His brother is dead, and he's the only one of his mother's sons left, and his father loves him.' Then you said to your servants, 'Bring him down to me, so I can go see him for myself.' And we said to my lord, 'The boy cannot leave his father. If he leaves him, his father will die.' But you told your servants, 'Unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you will not see my face again.' And when we went back to your servant, my father, we told him what my lord had said." So they're basically just telling the story of what's happened, how they got to this point. "Then our father said, 'Go back and buy a little more food.' But we said, 'We cannot go down. Only if our younger brother goes with us can we go. We cannot see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us. Your servant, my father, said to us, you know that my wife bore me 2 sons. One of them went away from me, and I said, he has surely been torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since. If you take this one too from me, and harm comes to him, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in misery. So now, if the boy is not with us, when I go back to your servant, my father, and if my father, whose life is closely bound up with the boy's life, sees that the boy isn't there, he will die. Your servant will bring the gray head of our father down to his grave in sorrow. Your servant guaranteed the boy's safety to my father. I said, if I do not bring him back to you, I will bear the blame before you, my father, all my life. So, Judah says, all right, this is the way it is. I've explained the whole thing. If I do not come back with Benjamin, my father will die. Do you understand? And I have guaranteed his safety. I have put my own life on the line. And we brought Benjamin here all in a fair context. We did nothing wrong. We're just here to get grain. You're causing us all this problem. And we've done everything you've asked us to do. We have no idea how the silver cup of yours got in Benjamin's sack. But you have to understand, if we do not bring Benjamin back, my father will die. It's as simple as that. And we do not want my father to die. We just want you to know that that's the way it is. So we'll just read one more little bit. Now then, please let your servant remain here as my Lord's slave in place of the boy, and let the boy return to his brothers. How can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? No, do not let me see misery that would come upon my father. So Judah says, listen, if I go back to Canaan, if we go back to Canaan without Benjamin, my father's going to die. We can't allow my father to die. You don't want my father to die. You don't want that on your hands. So take me instead. I will be a surrogate instead of Benjamin. Let Benjamin go back with the other brothers, and then just keep me. I'll be a servant. I'll be a slave, whatever you want to do. But I cannot. You have no idea how much heartbreak would happen to my father, so much so that he would die. This would be a horrible thing, and it would all be because of a misunderstanding, because we had no idea how this stuff happened. So they're laying it all out. They're being as open and honest, as transparent as they possibly can. And Joseph, I think Joseph's playing a little bit of a... I don't know if Joseph is playing a game, but I think what Joseph is saying, that he really wants Benjamin to stay with him. It's his brother. He doesn't want him to go back to Canaan. He's okay with the other brothers to go back. I mean, I'm sure he would love to see his father again, but his father's aged. He can't make the trip. So I guess they're at an impasse, and Joseph doesn't know what to do. So let's just continue reading to see if we can find out what Joseph is going to do. Because so we're going to start reading in chapter 45. Maybe, there we go. Then Joseph could no longer control himself before all of his attendants, and he cried out, "Have everyone leave my presence." So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers. And he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and the Pharaoh's household heard about it. So Joseph is in agony and pain. He wants Benjamin to stay, but he doesn't want him to leave. He doesn't want really Judah to stay. But this is the point where he's going to reveal himself to his brothers. So Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still living?" But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. So can you imagine this scene? All this commotion, all this silver, 2 trips to Egypt, all of this. And Joseph, who's in turmoil in his head, do I make myself known to my brothers or not? Because I really don't want to make myself known to my brothers. I really just want Benjamin to stay here. He's my true brother, and I want him to stay. And I want to give him all the love that I can. But I don't have a whole lot of love for my brothers, but I do love my father. And it is clear that my father loves me still, even though he thinks I'm dead. But do I reveal myself to my father? I mean, how does this all end, Lord? How does it all end? If I keep Benjamin, my father dies. If I send Benjamin back, then I'm alone again with no connection to my family. And he's wailing and he's weeping because he's in a situation where he simply cannot win. It's a non-win situation. And he doesn't know how to get out of it. So he has all the servants leave, and he finally is there in the room with his brothers, and he reveals himself. Well, they're about as freaked out as he is, because they think that Joseph is dead, long dead, 20 years dead, because he was sold in slavery. They've all forgotten him. Well, they haven't forgotten him, but they've gotten over him, and they're shocked and terrified. They're terrified in his presence. And when you're terrified, this came out of the Megan Jolsrud's talk on Sunday. But your brain is like this, right? Your brain, and inside, this is outside of your brain is your prefrontal cortex. All the thinking part of it, and then here is your lobe, right? Anyway, when you're in shock, you're not thinking very well, and you're just working on your R complex, right? What they call the reptilian, the R complex, which is just the basic thought. But Joseph clears through it, and he says, "Don't be afraid, and let's see what happens." So then Joseph said to his brothers. So we're going to just keep going. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come close to me." And when they had done so, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now there's been a famine in the land, and for the next 5 years there will be no plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth, and to save your lives by great deliverance. So then, it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household and ruler of all of Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, 'This is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, don't delay. You shall live in the region of Goshen and be near me, you, your children, and your grandchildren, your flocks and your herds, and all you have. I will provide for you there, because 5 years of famine are still to come. Otherwise, you and your household and all who belong to you will become destitute.'" So, there it is. Joseph reveals himself. But look at the incredible maturity, incredible grace that Joseph has. He could have killed his brothers. He has all the power in his hands. He's number two. If Pharaoh wanted to kill somebody, he could kill. If Joseph went to him and said, "These are my 11 brothers that sold me into slavery, and I'm going to kill them," Pharaoh probably would have seen that as being justified. Maybe, I don't know. But there is absolutely no question that he could have harbored animosity and anger and hatred at his brothers, but he doesn't. Instead, he reveals himself to his brothers and says, "What you meant for evil, God meant for good." And man, I think that's why I love this lesson. This whole revealing and the maturity that Joseph shows, because it is a powerful, powerful lesson. Because in the big picture, in the arc of history that God is in control of, there are times in our life when we are going through things that look like they're evil and they're horrible, and we don't understand them. There are people there are times when people do evil to us, but when we can rise above it, when we can be like Joseph, when we can put it all behind us and just look forward and to say, okay, God, this is the situation. It is what it is. And I don't like it. It's horrible and it's painful. But God, I'm still going to cling to you. And I know that you're clinging to me. And let's get through this. And through this, I'm going to learn more about myself. I'm going to learn more about your grace. And you're going to lead me through this. And our relationship is going to be stronger, because I know that all things work for good for those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. It all fits together. Because my prayer is that when you step back and look at the arc of the narrative from God's perspective and know that God is with you, that you're still in the kingdom, that he loves you, his grace is there, man, what a powerful way to live your life. Because then you're able to take any evil, any bad thing, and just let God use it for good. And that's what Joseph is doing. And what an amazing testimony to his brothers. What an amazing testimony to Pharaoh. What an amazing testimony to his father. What an amazing testimony to Egypt. What an amazing testimony to us today in looking at it. And all Joseph did, God did help Joseph. There's no question. He helped him have the gifts to interpret dreams. There's no question about that. But God gives all of us gifts. And we have been blessed by God with I don't know, it's probably not interpreting gifts, but interpreting dreams. But there's other things that God is doing in your life. There's other blessings that God's giving in your life. And when you are able to step back and let God use you in those blessings and be humble and take the blessings that God's given you, use them for his glory, and move forward and put away all anger, animosity, and just simply let God use you, it is an amazingly powerful thing. 1 Peter, always be ready to have an answer for the hope that is within you. How is it that you're able all these evil things happen in life. You were sold into slavery by your brothers in Egypt. How is it that you're able to move forward and without any anger, out any animosity? And Joseph's response is, because I'm a child of the king. And he loves me. He's given me gifts, and I'm using it. And it's easy to say, well, he's Pharaoh's number 2. But no, we're all God's number 2, right? We are all second in command next to Jesus. We are all blessed and in the kingdom and have all the privileges and rights that come with being a child of the king. We're kind of Joseph, right? We are all Joseph. That God has blessed us, and the happiest, most joyful, if you want to live, and this is our theme for this whole entire year, is the abundant life. If you want to live the abundant life, it is simply this, 2 things. One is knowing that Jesus Christ has won the war for you, that your privilege and standing with the King of the universe is that you're his beloved child, and he loves you very, very much, and he gives you all rights and privileges. That's the number 1 thing. And the number 2 thing is that he helps you fight the battles. And when it means fighting the battles, it means that he's there beside you with his angels and his power and his grace and his love and his Holy Spirit being there with you to help fight the battles in life. And when you let God fight the battles with you in life, that is an amazing witness to the world around you. And God's grace is powerful and loving and kind and joyful. And when you cling on to both of those things, knowing that you're a child of the king, that he's fought the war and he's helping you fight the battles, and you do that with humility and love the world around you, you, my friends, are living the abundant life. You're a Joseph. You're the stuff that stories are made out of in future generations, right? And of course, if you live in humility and you do it, nobody really knows what you're doing. Nobody sees it. That's okay. God sees it. And when you slip into eternity and spend the rest of eternity with God, he will reveal all the amazing things he did through you, and you will see the total picture. Right now, we see through a glass dimly, but at some point, we'll see him face to face, and all things will be revealed. And that is the moment that we're looking for, is to show to let God show how much he used you, how much he loves you, how much his grace was in your life, and how amazing things were done because of you, and how you were willing to let God be your hands and feet, and that you were part of that, and your faithfulness is a part of that, and his grace is a part of that, and this, I think that's, so this was probably the first main biblical story when I started. So I became a Christian right before 7th grade, and then I went to a Lutheran school and learned catechism and all this, but this was like the first major story that really resonated with me. And I think that's why I like this story so much. Because as a person in the world, I can see how angry and bitter a person could be being sold into slavery. But then watching the power of God and his grace and love in this world is just a powerful lesson. It's a powerful lesson to teach a 7-year-old. And it's one that I've never forgotten. It's one that fills me with joy. It resonates deeply with me. And I pray that it resonates deeply with me for the rest of my life. Because it is a story of God's amazing grace in our life. And I just want to revel in the story, revel in the fact that God's got a plan. He knows what he's doing. He's there watching over all of us. It's not really anything that we do. It is our hands, it is our feet. It's even at some point our will to go along with God and to be his hands and feet. But ultimately, it's all done by a master chess player, a master planner who has all of the pieces on the chessboard, and he's moving them and doing the things he needs to do to bring about his grace and his power in the world that so desperately needs it. And I just think if all Christians today could just allow God to use them in his hands and feet, how much better would the world be in one generation? But there are so many Christians today, I wouldn't say followers, it was Christians who it's secondary or tertiary in their life, and they don't really want God to use them. And they're happy with all the rights and privileges part, but they don't want to use their hands and feet to bless the world around them. And that's the unfortunate thing, because the true blessing, it's not fame, it's not power, it's not wealth, it's not riches, it's not position in society. The true joy of life is truly letting God live in you and to let his power use you in the world and to help you fight the battles, not only your battles, but the battles of the people around you. And that's truly where the abundant life comes from. And I don't know if I can say this enough times, but that's where my joy comes from. My true joy lies in the fact that Jesus Christ redeemed me, and then he uses me however he wants to use me. That's where true joy comes from. And I live the most abundant, blessed life that I know of. I mean, I'm truly a blessed individual. That's all I can say. I just feel blessed every day. And I feel even more blessed because I live here in Vail, and I live in a place that's absolutely beautiful, and I have a beautiful wife and wonderful kids and grandkids and all that. And those are blessings too. But the ultimate blessing all comes down from the love of God that lives in me and lives in you. So that's why I love this story, this moment where Joseph reveals himself. And the fact that we 4,000 years later still talk about this story and about how Joseph let God use him and do amazing things through him. It's just a remarkable thing. So it's worth just spending a pause to think about. So I think we'll leave it there. We will get again tomorrow. We will get together again tomorrow. And I am so grateful for this time to spend together. And I'm gonna have to, as soon as I finish today, I'm gonna pause my computer because I think I need to reboot it. There's just something weird going on. But thanks for joining me. Let's just really quickly close in prayer. Dear God, thank you for your son, Jesus, who won the war for us and helps us fight the battles. And because of that, we have abundant life. Be with us until we meet again. In his name we pray. Amen. All right. So that's our blessing for today. We will get again tomorrow. We will get